Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Shukadev Goswami said, Akrura, Akrura, Apicha, and Tam, that, Ratrim, night, Madhupurayam, in the city of Mathura, Mahamati, high-minded, Ushitva, remaining, Ratham, his chariot, Asthaya, mounting, Prayayao, he set off, Nanda Gokulam, for the cowherd village of Nanda Maharaj. Shukadev Goswami said, after passing the night in the city of Mathura, the high-minded Akrura mounted his chariot and set off for the cowherd village of Nanda Maharaj. Purport. King Kamsa ordered Akrura to go to Vrindavan on the Ekadasi of the dark fortnight of the Vedic month of Phalgun. After spending the night in Mathura, Krishna left early the next day. That morning, Narada offered his prayers to Krishna in Vrindavan, and in the afternoon, the demon Vyoma was killed there. At dusk, Akrura entered the Lord's village. Om Agyantimidandasya. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 38, entitled Akrura's Arrival in Vrindavan. Verse number 1. I'd like to welcome some of our special guests today. His Holiness Niranjan-Swami Maharaj, His Grace Kuladri Prabhu, His Holiness Dayananda Swami Maharaj, Damodar Maharaj, and my very exalted God sisters Manjulali Devi and Manjari Devi. Would you like chairs to sit on? Let us welcome all of them by loudly chanting Hari. In today's verse we find Akrura mounting his new chariot to travel from Mathura to Vrindavan. In the previous chapter, we learn of the background of this story. Krishna had just delivered Aristasura. And that night, by Krishna's arrangement, he transformed and showed us how to transform even the apparent greatest calamities into the most auspicious opportunities for loving devotional service. Aristasura was such a terrible asura. He assumed the form of a bull, which is generally the symbol of Dharma. In the guise of Dharma, he came not only to destroy Krishna, but to destroy all the residents of Vrindavan. He was so giant and powerful. But Krishna stood before him and easily flipped him over by grabbing his horns, and then with his very soft lotus feet, he kicked him a few times, and Aristasura attained spiritual perfection in his own way. And this took place on Bahulastami. Sri Radha told Krishna that now how will I dance with you when you have killed a bull? So on Sri Radharani's, according to her proposal, Krishna called all the holy places, and with his own footprint, he made a kund and filled them, and that became Sham Kund. Now Sri Radha, who is the ultimate source of all bhakti, devotion, and is the complete whole of all love, prem, to facilitate the most sweet, beautiful, and highest of all pastimes of the Lord, she was about to create Radha Kund. And with the hoof print of Aristasura, her and her friends, the gopis, with their little bangles, and they dug it out and excavated the hoof print of Aristasura. So they took the greatest tragedy and transformed it into the greatest opportunity for loving devotional service. Narada Muni, understanding the heart and the will of the Lord, was performing his inconceivable pastimes. Vaishnavera kriya mudra nidriva. This beautiful verse tells that it's very difficult to understand the mind of a Vaishnav. In the case of Narada Muni, Tesham satata yuktanam, Krishna tells in Gita, that when you are engaged in my transcendental loving service with all your heart, mind, and soul, then I reveal my will to you. So Narada understood Krishna's will. He understood that now it was time for Krishna to conclude his Vrindavan pastimes on the earthly level, the prakata lila of the Lord. For several purposes. To give the Brijabasis the highest ecstasies of Vipralamba Bhav in separation. Just after Krishna left for Mathura, after some time, he sent Uddhav to Vrindavan. Krishna sent his most confidential, loving associate of all of Mathura, and later Dwarka, to give his message to the Gopas and Gopis. And although Uddhav was taking prasad with Krishna, he was constantly engaged in discussing subject matters with Krishna, walking with Krishna, sitting with Krishna, laying down with Krishna. when he saw the love of the gopis and the gopas in separation from Krishna, this vipralamba or viraha bhav, his conclusion was, I have no love for Krishna. In comparison, they are absorbed in the highest level of a samadhi, total absorption in Krishna, crying day and night, remembering Krishna at every moment. Whatever they saw, it gave them remembrance of Krishna, whether it was a cloud or a tree or a cow. Even the cows were in this state, and the calves and the bulls. Everyone in Vrindavan was immersed in awaiting Krishna's return. They would make garlands all day with the thought that Krishna would come that day. They would prepare Krishna's favorite bhoga with the idea that he would come. And this is how they spent every day, year after year. You see, they weren't just sitting and thinking like this. They were involved in serving Krishna. And even when they were like this, when they would see any place in Vrindavan, they would remember what Krishna did in that place. And this is the way the 6 Goswamis, who were sent by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of the gopis, this is how they saw Vrindavan. They were given this vision. They had descended from the spiritual world with this vision. Wherever they looked in Vrindavan, He Radhe Brajadevake Chalalite Hananda Suno Kuta. They were seeing Krishna in separation. This is where he would dance. This is where he danced on Kaliya's hoods. This is where he danced with Balaram and the gopas in the pastures. This is where he danced with the gopis in the forest. Every leaf of every tree they were seeing Krishna. And this was Uddhava's experience. So to facilitate this viraha bhava, and also to assist Krishna in fulfilling his mission of paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, to annihilate the miscreants, to reestablish religion, and to attract my devotees' hearts, I come again and again. So Kamsa was creating so much terror around the world, and especially to Krishna's very loving, dear devotees, Vasudeva and Devaki. In Krishna's heart, he wanted to fulfill this mission. So Narada went to Kamsa and told Kamsa that you remember the time when Devaki was married, you heard that voice, that the 8th child of Krishna would be, or Devaki would be the cause of your death. Well, you remember there was a little girl that was born of Devaki. Well, I want to tell you the truth of it. Actually, that little girl was Yashoda's daughter. And she was switched. Who you are thinking all along to be the son of Nanda is actually the son of Devaki, Krishna. He is the one who is prophesied to be the cause of your death. This was a absolute confirmation coming from a great acharya. And Vasudeva, he's the one who made all the switches. Kamsa became overcome with uncontrollable anger. and drew his sword. I will kill Vasudeva immediately. But Narada was so empowered to say just the right thing at the right time. First he incited Kamsa's anger. And then he said, no, you should not do that. Because if you kill Vasudeva, then Krishna and Balaram will understand what's happening and they will run away and hide. Better imprison Vasudeva and bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. So Kamsa was thinking he was the controller. But Krishna, through his devotee Narada, was completely like a little puppet controlling Kamsa. So then Kamsa sent, with even more envy and anger before, he sent another demon to Vrindavan. This is the first time he sent a demon to Vrindavan, knowing that Krishna was the person who was to kill him. He sent Keshi. Keshi went running to Vrindavan. He took the form of a gigantic horse. It's not that Keshi was just a horse. He was a powerful asura. But he had such incredible mystical powers, he could change his form any way he wanted. So by his chanting of mantras and whatever else he was doing, he manifested his body into an enormous horse. And went galloping into Vrindavan. The whole earth was shaking. The hairs on top of his neck were hitting the clouds. It caused such a fear in Vrindavan. Jiva Goswami tells that the cows in the Goshalas were so afraid, they broke out of the Goshalas and started running in all directions in the pastures and the forests, crying out in fear. And when Nanda Maharaj saw this, he and the cowherd men went running to see what it was, and when they saw Keshi, this enormous horse galloping and making terrible sounds, they didn't know what to do. Then Krishna, he ran really fast in front of Nanda and in front of all the Gopas and in front of Balaram and stood right in front of Keshi. And Yashoda Mai, she cried out, Krishna, this is not for you to do. Why are you, how will you stop an enormous horse like this? And Krishna said, he's just a horse. And Yashoda Mai was saying to Nanda Maharaj, why Krishna always has to be the one to kill all these demons? Can't you? You're the king of Vrindavan, can't you? Can't you have someone else do it for once? And Krishna saw his mother was in great distress. So he just smiled upon her and reassured her. Then he looked at Keshi and challenged him to fight. When Krishna was standing face to face with Keshi, for a little boy like this to challenge such a personality to fight as Keshi, it's like an insult. Keshi opened his mouth as wide as it could go and roared. No, because I don't have a good throat, I can't try to resemble this roar, but all of you can try. Everyone. Sound like like a squirrel on its deathbed. But anyways, but he was roaring. And when Keishi roared, it was like millions of thunders filling the sky. Everyone was watching. His eyes were red like coals as he galloped toward Krishna with the singular intent to devour him. And Krishna started very, very skillfully dancing in different directions so that Keishi couldn't really catch him. And then Krishna grabbed Keishi by the legs and threw him the distance of 100 bows. Keishi went unconscious. But when he woke up seconds later, he was really humiliated. So he was more angry than ever before, and again rushed toward Krishna with his mouth open. Krishna effortlessly took his fist and put it in the mouth of Keishi, just stuck it in. See? Just as a serpent effortlessly slips into a hole, he put his arm in Keishi's mouth. Now this arm is so soft. To the gopis, to the gopas, to Yashoda Mai, his arm is as soft as the stem of a lotus flower, and so delicate and gentle. But to Keishi, his fist began to grow. And the first sign of auspiciousness was suddenly, miraculously, just by being in his mouth, all of Keishi's teeth just fell out. Then Krishna's hand became hot as fire, and his arm and fist expanded, till it completely choked any possibility of air going in and out of the throat of Keishi. So in that state, Keishi his eyes were bulging, all his hairs were trembling, his limbs were struggling, and he fell to the ground, past stool and urine. If Krishna wants to embarrass you in public, yes, because this demon was really proud, and here he is passing urine and stool all over the place, and everybody's watching. Even the demigods are watching. So don't feel bad if Krishna humiliates you. Because ultimately, Keishi was given liberation. And the demigod showered flowers. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that each of these demons who came to Vrindavan represent obstacles within our own selves to the path of pure devotional service, following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. Keishi represents, please listen carefully, because it may consciously or unconsciously apply to us. Keishi represents the feeling, the thought in a devotee's mind that I am a great devotee. I am a great Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, whatever. I'm a great leader. This consciousness is like Keishi. One time, Srila Prabhupada asked devotees, what is the most beautiful of all animals? And devotees, knowing exactly what the most beautiful animal is, they were so eager to please Prabhupada, they said, the cow. Prabhupada said, no, the most beautiful animal is the horse. Yes, that was interesting. Now, on so many levels, it's important for us to understand that Prabhupada has different definitions of certain things that he says, that he reveals at different times. But a horse is very beautiful. When Krishna drove the chariot of Arjuna, he had beautiful horses, his own personal horses sometimes. So when we think we're a great devotee, and horses are very fast, and they can jump very high, and some horses, some horses, I know somebody, one of my cousins in America, he owns race horses. Yes, Ajay, you know about these. Ajay was a star polo player when he was younger. And at his daughter's marriage, there was horse polo and elephant polo games. Which isn't as action-packed as horse polo games. It's aesthetic, but not very fast-moving. So, my cousin, the amount of money he invests in a single horse, it's a huge amount. More than Rolls Royces or Mercedes-Benz, his horse. And then the horse sprains its ankle and everything's finished. But so here, Keshi, he appeared as the fastest, biggest, most champion horse that has ever been. And he's running to Vrindavan. Representing our tendency to think that I'm a great devotee, I'm a great guru. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught the first principle of a Vaishnava is Nitya Krishna Jas. Jivara Swarupai Nitya Krishna. Jivara Nitya Krishna Das. That we are eternally the servants of Krishna. Gopi Bharatur Padakamalayora Dasa Dasanudas. The servants of the servants of the servants of Krishna. Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Ibasehishna. Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. To be humble like blade of grass. Forgiving and tolerant like a tree. Eager to offer all respect to others and expect none in return. This is the spirit of a true devotee. This is what is required to actually cry out the names of the Lord. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this regard explains how when we understand the power and the presence of these different influences within us, it should totally humble us to take shelter of Krishna. Because just as we have no power with all of our physical, intellectual abilities to fight against something like Keshi, similarly, we have no power to fight against this tendency within ourselves. But just as the Brajavasis were completely dependent on Krishna, even though they didn't even see him as God, They just saw him as their loving friend. In situations like this, they had no other shelter. In the same way, to humble ourselves before Krishna, in the spirit that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taught through these verses we have just recited. That is our only hope. Srila Prabhupada told us, what is the Vaikuntha consciousness? And of course, the Goloka consciousness is something deeper than even this. It's the highest Vaikuntha. The Vaikuntha consciousness is every devotee is better than me. Let me serve. And in Vrindavan, with all of its intimate, esoteric, ecstatic, loving relationships between everyone and Krishna and Radha, and everyone with each other, there is this appreciation and honor of everyone's devotional service. But this idea, I'm better than you. And if I'm better than you, that means my guru and my temple and my mission and everything is better than yours. It's like an all-devouring Keshi. The capacity to actually appreciate devotional service in others is the quality of a Vaishnava. So this Keshi is either manifest or unmanifest in all of us. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is revealing how we should respond by really humbling ourselves. I'm not a great devotee. I just want to be the servant of the servant of the servant of great devotees. That consciousness is greatness in the eyes of Krishna. And that consciousness is the consciousness in which we can raise our arms like Draupadi and sincerely cry out the holy name. So this happened in the morning. We just read from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary that on Ekadasi, this discussion happened between Narada and Kamsa. First thing in the morning, Keshi went and was delivered. And then Narada Muni came to Vrindavan to meet Krishna. And expressed to Krishna, because you have just killed Keshi, this is incredible, wonderful, I have seen it with my own eyes. You are the supreme absolute truth, you are the personality of Godhead, you are situated in everyone's heart, you are a knower of everything and everyone. And praising Krishna in so many ways, with so much love, with so much devotion. He explained, now it's time to come to Mathura. And I will see Chanura and Mushtika killed, and I will see so many others. Meanwhile, in Mathura, Kamsa called for a Akrura. And he told the Akrura, I want you to go early tomorrow morning to Vrindavan to bring Krishna and Balaram here. And Kamsa was so good at diplomacy. He affectionately held Akrura's hand and said, no one can do what you could do because of your wisdom and because of your good relationships with everyone. I want you to bring Krishna and Balaram here. You are famous as one who always performs and executes expertly his duty. And then he told Akrura that when Krishna and Balaram come here, because they are the ones who have been prophesied to kill me, I will have my elephant Kuvalayapita kill him. And if that doesn't work, I will have Chanura or Mushtika kill him. And when they are killed, then I will kill Vasudeva. And I will kill all the Bhojas and the Brishnis. And I will kill Ugrasena, who wants to take my throne. This is interesting psychology, isn't it? The throne belonged to Ugrasena. And Kamsa took it away from him, his own father. And now he's making Ugrasena look like such a terrible, terrible, envious demon. He wants to take my throne. In other words, do what I just did to him. The world is a mirror of our own consciousness. And this is the psychology of people who are inflicted by materialistic ego.